planning the future? Because we're now getting more and more accurate predictions about how COVID is going to fade away.
Yeah.
But then we're equally getting people who are saying.
So those conversations are going on now, in as much as that, and it's about perhaps some of the things that we've already done and continuing that. So I mentioned that some of the patient transport staff had stepped up to the paramedics to help support paramedics. That will be staying in place. Things like the firefighters, when I mentioned that we're training them but not using them at the moment, we are putting in quite a lot of factors. We always plan for winter. Winter pressures are always our busy time. We always have to plan for them. And COVID will add another layer to that. So we'll be working with our public health partners. We'll be working with the hospitals. There will be ways that we constantly look at how we can improve handover at hospital and things like that. And all these things that I talked about when we talk about 111 first, hopefully that will help with some of it. But there will be plans being made far above me at the moment to look at that. Like I say, but we'll be doing that now because, like you say, we don't quite know what next winter is going to look like as yet. So we'll be planning for that as already. It sounds like it's far away, but for us, we already need to put those plans in place.
Of course, you'll be one of the first to suffer if there's a relaxation.
Yeah.
And that it spreads again. Yeah. You'll be the first to suffer from it, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think this time last year not this time last year, but in the summer it started to look like we'd be dropping and what have you. But we were always planning for the fact that we thought there might be an increase coming back. We always thought there was a possibility of it, so we couldn't relax. We always had to plan for that, and it's kind of we hope now that the vaccine will make a real difference. The data looks positive at the moment, but we like you say, will be the first, but we also have to be the most aware probably of that there may be spikes again, there may be other waves, the variants might have an impact. But like I say, we absolutely hope they don't, but we will be planning for that. It's and that planning will be happening now, not November, October, it'll be happening now for that. So yeah.
The nature of viruses, though, they do constantly mutate anyway, don't they?
Yeah.
And they generally mutate to a less harmful variation. That's how it doesn't quite die off, but it's not quite as dangerous, is it? I think no. Frank, have you got your hand up? Do you want to ask a question, Frank?
Yes, please.
Okay, again, fire away, Frank.
Hello.
Hi, Frank.
Well, I've used your ambulance service fairly regularly when I've been to Fairfield at Bury. And I've used two types of ambulances, the sitting one and the full-blown one. And I've often wondered, when we get in the ambulance and you feel awful, how much medical training are your ambulance drivers the man inside? Presumably they're very highly qualified medically.
So, Frank, do you mean the ones that would take you for a hospital appointment?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, probably less so than you might think. So they are trained in first aid and they are trained in like lifting and carrying. But in terms of if you, for instance, had a medical emergency on the vehicle, while they'd be able to offer, CPR, they'd be able to do first aid with you, they would dial 999. They would dial their colleagues and they would dial a paramedic to come to you. They don't necessarily, on the patient transport service, like I say, they're trained very much in manual handling, how they would, if you are in a chair, and like I say, they could do CPR, they will have first aid training, but they are not as trained as the paramedics. So actually what they would do is, if you took ill on the vehicle and they thought it was worth it, they would probably stop and ring the paramedics to come to the patient transport vehicle for you. And that's happened. Saying that, they may be able to sort of offer you something and get you to the hospital as quick as they can. But I know, so my background's patient transport, and quite often I used to be based at one of the oncology hospitals. So occasionally we'd have people, for instance, that might have a fit on the way in or whatever. So they would they can alert us, and we'd have someone on standby waiting for them. But yeah, perhaps not as highly trained as you thought on the patient transport vehicle. But yeah, they would call their colleagues from the emergency service. So not that they haven't got any, but then, like I say, they're not as trained as their colleagues on 999, for instance. So.
Oh.